Hi, welcome to Team Woolly Sheep Reviews. I've had a special request about my shed. I built it about 12 years ago. I originally had an 8x6 shed at the bottom of the garden, which basically rotted and fell apart. And I decided, after talking to a colleague who'd built his own shed, to have a go and build my own shed. Build your man cave. If you build your own man cave, it's... people who've done it will understand. I've got a big garden, so I had this spot at the bottom of my garden, and it was like a block of cheese. When I say a block of cheese, it was a wedge shaped. It's not squared end. And I decided to take that space and build a shed to fit that space. So across the front it looked normal, but it would be shaped to take advantage of the whole of that wedge corner and square up the garden. So, and this was the results. It is not difficult. If you go to the local garden centre and you look at the construction of a shed, a bit of tongue and groove, some verticals, nail them together, nothing complicated. I wanted to do this one a little bit different because I wanted it to be watertight, ventilated, so there's no damp, warm and dry, so I've insulated it. So as you can see in the photographs, you can see that I built a frame. So I put the frame on the floor, same as what you do decking. I concreted some vertical posts in, and then I laid out the shape of the shed and put floor joists in. So I actually had a deck which was concreted into the ground on posts, and so it was the floor was up off the ground and floating, so there's ventilation underneath, so you're not on the damp wet floor. After that then I built the sides as individual frames and I bolted them together to make the general shape of the shed. Then I dismantled those frames. Once I knew that they were right and they went together, I dismantled the frames, and then I added a waterproof membrane. That waterproof membrane then was cladded with some feather edge timber. Around the sides and the back I've used some cheap feather edge timber which you'd use for fencing, but that's only for cosmetics, because behind that is proper roofing grade weatherproof membrane, so that gives me the waterproofing. On the inside then, between the joists, between the vertical posts, I actually put insulation. I then put a vapor barrier, a plastic sheet. For insulation I used, I think it was only 26mm Celotex board, which is a foam insulation board, and it's about that thick. So the shed is completely lined on the roof with this Celotex board. It's water sealed then, so that there's no moisture could come through. So it's got the feather edge timber, the waterproof membrane, the insulation boards, and then I plasterboarded on the inside. So the idea with the plasterboard, I would love to have had wood clad, but expensive. When you have a full sheet of plasterboard, they are papered around the edge and they're sealed on the edges. So when they're butted up against each other, you could decorate cork that, and it actually gives a nice finish. With that, I insulated the roof. I paid extra and put tongue and groove on the roof. One of the reasons is that I wanted to put hang planes, etc. from the roof, so I wanted a little bit of strength and something I could screw into. And so I've got tongue and groove on the roof. I've got mains power. I have solar panels on the roof, believe it or not. What I'll do, I'll take you off the tripod and I'll give you a little tour. So you're coming off the tripod. So as you can see, there's my infill light and there's my overhead lights. So the dimensions across the length, it was roughly about 5 to 5.5 meters in the width. It's about a depth of about 3.5 meters. However, as I said, it's like a block of cheese. 1.5 meters to there. It extends out, so it's an unusual shape. My brother was installing a new kitchen, so he had some units left over. So what did I do? So I used the timber, the OSB timber I had, and I actually made cupboards to go in between. So I cut this individual sections to bridge the gap, and there they are. So I made the cabinets. Then I went to one of our hardware stores and I bought some doors. They were on offer. I think they were about £5 each. I decked it with OSB, and these are actually laminate flooring. And then I did the same. I had a unit there and I built the units underneath using this OSB board. It's like a chip board, but it's like a very coarse chip. And there's the cupboards. So I wanted a location for my drill press. I purchased this drill. I bought it second hand. It's an ideal position. I've angled it because it gives me, if I've got a long piece of material, I can open the door and it can go outside the door. So I've given myself a little workbench. So these are cutting sheets, which I bought along the way, which happen to fit there perfectly. And as you can see, my planes are all stacked up. What I've done to stack the planes is I put some vertical battens top to bottom. I drilled holes and I put rods in. So I had some more aluminium rods which I stuck in the holes to give me like a rack to put the planes on. For the bigger planes, I've added some additional support to the ceiling because obviously they're quite heavy, so that they're supported. And a solar inverter. This is an SMA Sunny Boy, and because I've got an east-west split, I got two panels on the west side of the roof which I put on a separate inverter. So this is doing the east side and that's the west side, so two panels, and I've got 4 panels off that one. So it's giving me roughly 1 kilowatt of power, which is backfeeding into the distribution board, which is backfeeding into the house. So as soon as it exceeds 1 kilowatt, it's using the grid power, as they say. So this is my shed, this is my workspace. And if you haven't got one of these, I suggest you get a Dremel. And a Dremel on a snake is absolutely fabulous. So as you can see, I've got this attached on a lanyard, so I can actually work on the bench with it. I can actually even take it outside if I want to do some grinding. So if you've got a Dremel, get a snake for it. Absolutely fabulous. I keep that there, and I don't know how I managed before, but that is ideal. So obviously in a close proximity, the vise is always handy. The windows were handmade. These are double glazed panels. I've clipped them and retained them from both sides to keep it square, so it shouldn't warp. So I basically cut out the recess for the glass to fit in, and then it's held in with the beading. But I've also cut weep holes, so any water that runs down there will drain out the sides. So either side there's some weep holes, so you can't stop the water, but you can manage it. So as you can see, that's the type of joint. It's basically like a butt joint, and it's doweled and glued, so it's quite strong. As you can see, I've used a nice shiplap profile, but then on the sides and the back I've used a standard feather edge, which is your normal fencing grade timber. The timber I used for the frame for the windows was your carcassing timber for internal partitions. Like I said, I found having the handles on both sides hold it square and true. And with the double glazed panel, instead of a single glazed glass, obviously it's giving you that little bit of insulation, but it also holds square, so it's stronger. As you can see, this is some of my small hand tools and some 3D printed bits. Is that when we do some shows, quite often we'll have the quads chasing the wings, and if the wings get hit by the quads, it causes a lot of damage. So because I have Depron, the plan was that I would make some wings out of the Depron, have the fuselages so that they're reusable, and obviously I can knock them up and repair them quite easily. Obviously if the wings get damaged, I can whip the wing off, put the new wing on, and I can make a couple of spares or make a couple of planes up, and they can be repaired quite easily, so you don't mind so much then if they get damaged. That doesn't mean that they can be target practice, boys, but it's not such a loss if you do. Like if I've got, like this is a Depron, a sheet of Depron cut, the fuselage, So they'd be lightweight, very nimble, very short wingspan. So they'd be quite fast, I would have thought. It's following the format of the bonsai wing. Some of you might recognise this from Hobby King. Has potential. Interchangeable wings. So, can't wait to get flying again. So that's something I've been working on the side. If you haven't seen the wings being chased by quads, what we do is attach a ribbon to the back, and the objective is to cut the ribbon. Cut the ribbon, boys. Not take the wing out. Cut the ribbon. And it's like a swarm of angry bees chasing a bird. Absolutely amazing. Obviously you get the odd one will clip the wing, and then if they do get hit, it's quite spectacular as the Depron disintegrates, but you just cut the new one out and get it back going. So that's something I'm working on. That's something that's come in. So thank you for watching Team Woolly Sheep Reviews. I hope you enjoyed the shed tour, and I hope it answered a lot of questions. Go and make your own man cave. It's there. Do it. Make your own man cave. When you've done it, you'll find it's... Just go to the garden centre and have a look at one of the sheds. They're basically stuck together, a couple of nuts and bolts. Nothing to it. If I can do it, you can do it. Can't wait to get flying again.